The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Welcome to Generations Radio, where the focus is on our seniors and their families. We are here each Saturday afternoon from 5 until 6 p.m., bringing you resourceful information with our radio team of professionals in the field of aging. Stay with us for the next 1 hour as we explore different ways to make life more exciting and meaningful for our extraordinary seniors. Right here on AM 690, The Answer. And now, here is our host and the publisher of Generations Magazine, Percy Ihara.
Welcome to Generations Radio. I am Percy Ihara, your host here every Saturday from 5 to 6 and Sundays from 3 to 4 here on AM 690, The Answer. And so thank you all of you who've been listening to us, our radio show every weekend, and the emails I get and the calls I get, and especially when I see you in person at different meetings and functions. I'm around town quite a bit. So, and you can always call me at 234-3117, or probably the best way to reach me is via email. It's Percy, Percy, at generations808.com. You can also email me through our website if you go to generations808.com. And as you guys all know, we archive all these radio shows on our website, including all our past issues from as early as the 2010 October with Kirk Matthews. We've had Dr. Shintani. We've had Governor Abercrombie. We've had Prosecuting Attorney Keith Kaneshiro. So thanks to all our cover stories, and coming up our Medicare issue coming up in October next month. But anyway, I do want to thank all of you for listening in and tuning in to our radio show here every Saturday and Sunday. And today, what we wanted to do something different was that, a lot of people don't know the history of Generations Magazine. A lot of people do not know who our staff are. So we wanted to give a little bit of a background information on how Generations Magazine got started, why we do what we do. And so I'll start off. I'm Percy Ihara, and a lot of people know me. I used to be called the reverse mortgage guy. And over the last few years, 5 years to be exact, I've been known as the Generations Magazine guy. And so we took over the magazine in early 2010 from Kini Popo over at Trade Publishing. And the magazine was started. It was called Generations Hawaii. And then when I turned 50, and the magazine closed down in August of 2009, when I made 50 in 2010, I approached Kini and said, listen, you know what, I want to help to bring the magazine back. And after long discussions, I just decided to carry on the Generations Magazine name. And we converted it to a resource magazine where we partner with all the different state, city, federal agencies. We vet and talk to different writers and for-profit people and non-profit people to really provide a print resource. And as well now, as you guys know, our website of trusted information, resourceful information to help people plan out their lives, to live well, to add quality of life. But also, if you have issues with your parents or yourself, we have resources in the magazine every month and every issue. So two people I called when I first came over, we got the idea in January 2010, was Kirk Matthews, my buddy over at KHON, who's now retired, who still writes for the magazine, and my high school classmate, Wilson Angel, who was at the time, just came back from L.A., Los Angeles, to help me with the magazine. And so we have on the phone here, all the way from Maui, Kihei, Maui, to be specific, our art director and my good friend, Mr. Wilson Angel. So, Wilson, thanks for calling in today.
Hi, everybody. Aloha.
And so, Wilson, you went to MidPAC with me. We dormed, and you went off to college, and you ended up in L.A. What made you move to L.A.?
Well, like anybody else who wanted to be better into what they're doing, my market was into art and graphics, and L.A. was the place to go. I needed to test myself and see my limits, and fortunately enough, I managed to live there for 20 years and make a living out of it.
But you've always been involved in graphic arts. I can remember from high school you were still very creative, and you drew and you did all kind of graphic things back then. And you're the perfect.
Yeah,
you've always been very creative.
Yeah, I was. My interest was that, and I just didn't know the facets of art, until I got into LA, and it showed me how diversified it is. I mean, had I known so much, I would probably look into other avenues as well. But then again, I'm pretty happy of where I've been and where I'm going with this.
Well, and that's a very stressful job, is in graphic arts and advertising world. I mean, isn't that such a stressful thing where you have timelines, deadlines, and you can't go past deadlines when it goes there, whether it's a commercial or print media, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Schedules and timelines are important for me. I guess I picked that up from Los Angeles, really, because LA is such a time important place that everybody needs their stuff at a certain time, and you have to make sure that you deliver it at that point. And but it is what I call it's like an ant farm where everyone is running from point A to point B in the shortest time.
And it's such a fast-paced town as well, isn't it?
It is. I'd like to say that it is much more for the younger, but I have to commend the seniors who live there. They absolutely really can live that life. I know some people that are 80 years old that are driving in Los Angeles, if you can imagine that.
That's one city I don't like to drive in, L.A. Oh, my God. Yeah. Terrible. I mean, we have traffic here. There, I mean, every day is traffic. I mean, here you can...
Every day is traffic. Half an hour just to the supermarket.
Just to the supermarket.
Guaranteed.
And some people even drive 2 hours one way just to get to work.
My commute often take about an hour and a half one way. So my day 3 hours would be spent on the road.
Wow. And you worked in national campaigns, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked on Bridgestone, is one of my largest campaign companies. The other, then I moved into new development real estate where we marketed and campaigned cities and towns. Basically, a developer would come into an area like Stevenson Ranch or Valencia, and they developed several master plan communities, and within that would have other little small communities. So our job was to create this image, basically.
So from a graphic arts point of view, you've seen it, I wouldn't say seen it all, but you've done a lot, and you came back to Hawaii several years ago. And can you let our audience know why you came back to Hawaii?
Well, a number of things. One is that, I finally realized that I could actually walk instead of keep running with the pack in L.A. The pace, I wanted a slower pace, an easier pace. So that really, contributed to that part. But the other is my parents. They were aging. I kept thinking of at what point do they need care or just some assistance from me, and I felt I was the one that was obligated to do so. And so it was kind of, I don't know if it was perfect timing or that everything kind of led into that direction. And so I packed my things and moved back.
Yeah, it's quite common. In fact, my wife moved back to Hawaii after living on the mainland for 20 plus years. Her mom was getting up in age, and she missed Hawaii. It's hard to beat Hawaii. You hear all these stories when people come on vacation. All they want to do is go to eat a plate lunch or go to the beach or have some fresh fruit, and just eat local food. It's one thing about Hawaii that I'll probably never move away. But I mean, when I go to mainland on trips, it's hard to beat Hawaii's food.
I think at my younger years, I don't think I've appreciated all the things that I already had when I was living here. But it was a good perspective, a good part to see the other side of the spectrum. I think it makes me feel more appreciative of the islands, really, to tell you the truth. And, lucky I live Hawaii.
Yeah, the quality of life is hard to beat. And I think I mentioned it before on a radio show that all of us, I should say most of us all involved with the magazine have firsthand experience with caregiving with their parents, except for myself. My parents are still able to take care of themselves, but everybody else in the magazine, from sales and marketing to our associate editor, Katherine Smith, will be coming on a show a little bit later on. You have firsthand experience with caring for your parents. And for a lot of people, I tell people, we have a really good idea what's going on in the community. Most of us have firsthand experience with caregiving and dealing with the facets of, taking care and supporting our parents. But also, it's really important that we learn from these experiences and pass that on and try and use this magazine as a resource to be proactive and give information to people out there and through the magazine. So can you just give a little bit of background on your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and this is basically one of the reasons why it interests me in being involved with the magazine, and what brought me into it was my parents. I think firsthand, I really experienced knowing what it takes to caregive. Although, after a while, I had to be true to myself and say, hey, my intentions are noble, but doing the actual physical caregiving was, I realized was difficult. I just really, to tell you the truth, I scratched the surface. When I came back and my parents my mother was in her early 80s. My father was in his early 90s, and my mother was, there was a lot more physical ailment on my mother than was my father. So she was one that I had to keep an eye on because she had gone through several strokes already, hip replacement, knee replacement. Going back and forth to the hospital, it's a drain.
Yeah, and not only that, but I know you had situations where you had to decide what to do with Dada eventually.
Eventually, yes. When my mother, I earlier on, I promised both of them that I will never take them to a nursing home, and they really was thankful for that. And so I tried my best to keep that promise. My mother, had passed before my father, and when that had come about, it's really hard to think that my father could live on his own, or with myself being there as well. He was also just getting into dementia, and I could see already that there was going to be some difficulty on my part in doing that. On Molokai, it's true that resources are slim, as one of our
past cover stories,
feature stories had talked about. However, a small community does have a lot of good stuff. They do help out. Neighbors help out. A little bit more smaller group. But eventually, I think my father's brother came over and decided that he wanted to also help in caring for his brother, and this was a big shift, which was in the Philippines. Now that was a whole totally different ballgame.
Well, I can remember the day you had asked me, as your dad gets older and the early signs of dementia, what do you do on Molokai? I said, well, I still remember asking you, are you moving to Molokai? He said, no. And fortunately, yeah, your uncle, your father's younger brother, was able to take him in the Philippines.
Yeah, I think the the good thing was that my father didn't have that much physical ailment, and I can surely say that that'll help in those later years. Your physical
mobility and everything,
or health, I should say. But so I did allow that because I honored the sibling need to care for each other. They were of 5 kids in the family. They were the last 2. So obviously my uncle had this huge obligation to care for his brother as well, and I wanted to honor that. And so I allowed my father to go to the Philippines to live with him at 93. I believe he was 93 when he moved there.
Right. And so with your experience and your involvement with Generations Magazine, you know, you're the same age. We're 55. We're baby boomers, and we see as we discuss stories and cover stories every issues. You know, as you know from firsthand experience, the issue of caregiving, as you know, we know so much about caregiving, but it's such a big issue here. Do you have friends that talk to you about caregiving and what you did, and some tips on things like that?
I think. Hindsight, I would have really been more attentive to my parents' paperwork. And what I mean by paperwork is their will, be acquainted with their directives. A lot of those things, I feel like at some point, you really have to take control. They always gave cues to me like, oh, you have to look at this, you have to look at that. But at the time, I felt like, geez, if I did that, then that means that I'm just wishing for them to end. But I didn't. And but those were subtle cues that they needed help. Subtle cues that it's time for me to take over and make the decision making and that sorts of things. There's a lot of things that should be taken way ahead of time, really, from that respect. And so as the same as paying bills. Parents can say that I can do it. However, there is a point where you would have to take charge of that. You would have to take charge of their accounts. You have to take charge of a lot of things.
Yeah, you're Mr. Everything for them at that point, especially if they have dementia.
Yeah, and so with my father being in the Philippines, I took charge of his Social Security and making sure that the finances are distributed properly here and there, paying for bills, taking care of his home on Molokai still, that sort of thing. And I think it's doable if you have all your ducks in a row, if I could,
Well, you're doing it from when your father was in the Philippines and you're here on Maui. But I mean, can you give us a little bit of your experience with the quality of care and how it was dealing with your father in the Philippines?
I think that the quality of care, there's a lot of good people there that would care for the elderly. There's nurses that are certified, way more qualified than you need to. There are certified caregivers. I had screened my caregiver based on their connection with my father. I think that was the most important thing for me. It's one thing to have someone that has the credential. It's another that has that compassion and empathy.
They get along.
And to get along. I think that is the most important thing for me, and I think it paid off well because then that person then became part of the family, part of it. She treated my father like as if it was her own father or grandfather, I should say. And so, and the other part is that abroad, I think the physical part is that the health. The health. I think if an elderly like my father, who didn't have much physical ailment, it made it easier. It made it easier for the care. And so he didn't need to go to the hospital daily for any kind of checkup or anything. He basically lived his days just in full wonder. I think I've always been amazed as how he just lived his daily life, is looking at things with a new set of eyes, like a child.
Do you think he knew he wasn't in Hawaii, in Molokai?
I'm sorry?
Do you think he knew he wasn't in Molokai?
Yeah, that was the joke of it all, was that he in the Philippines he thought that he was still in Hawaii, so we never told him any different.
Yeah, that's the good part about it, but I'm glad you had care because and you had family over there, because that is so important, and having somebody that really cares about you.
Yeah, family was important, and I definitely would think in those terms. But yeah, absolutely, and it was doable. I mean,
plus financially, it was probably a little more economical too.
Very affordable. His Social Security basically paid for all of his care, his living expenses, everything. I was quite surprised with that. And Social Security, there is a branch there in the Philippines
really?
As well, and they make sure that the recipient is well to do. I mean, is being taken care of.
That's interesting. Anyway, I mean, it's an experience that I think only you can tell. And like I said, we have other people, staff that have firsthand experience. And so when you carried it on with Generations Magazine, as you know, as a resource magazine, Wilson Angel, who's on the phone here from Kihei, Maui, our art director, was talking about our experiences in aging. And one of the things I think we do really well, and thanks to you and Wilson and Katherine, our associate editor, who will be on later on in the show, is that we all have really good experience, and we're very knowledgeable about our industry and our marketplace of aging. And from your firsthand experiences, being proactive is really important. And that's one of the things that Generations Magazine tries to do, is provide information, resources, articles about how to live a better quality of life, and how to, what resources we need for, whether it's financial, legal, or caregiving. But Wilson, I appreciate what you do. And so where do you think, our magazine, you look at our magazine versus other magazines, do you think it's that much helpful than other magazines as a resource magazine?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our magazine content is a treasure. I wish I'd read a lot more about it years before I even moved back. I think and being proactive is the word. I think hindsight. It always ends up being hindsight. And absolutely, our magazine has the information that helps you to have that proactiveness and pay attention.
Yeah, it's really important to pay attention. I mean, everywhere I go, people know me from the magazine, and I was at an event yesterday, and then Monday, by the way, I forgot to tell everybody that every Monday now through early part of December, every Monday at 11 o'clock at the Willows Restaurant in town here is a Nakoa Football Club luncheon. And this past week, Norm Chow, the UH football coach who we had on our cover a couple of years back, spoke about this year's team, and they play tonight. Well, this week, and it was a great thing. So everybody, just let you know. By the way, UH football this year does not have any bye weeks, so 13 straight weeks of football. Same thing with Nakoa Football Club, meeting Mondays at 11 o'clock at Willows is 13 straight weeks. So, but anyway, Wilson, thank you so much. Any last words about the magazine that you can tell our audience more about?
Keep them, read them, reference them. We're all online. Definitely, if you miss an issue or misplaced it, definitely get online. Everything is there for you. So the resources you can never miss. It's all online.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a resource magazine, everybody knows we can listen to our radio show again and learn about our first-hand experiences with Wilson Angel, our art director. So Wilson, hey, thank you so much. Is it raining much? Hopefully it's not raining too much on Maui there, but it's pouring here on Oahu.
Well, the clouds are thickening up, so I'm anticipating some rain this afternoon. And it's nice, hot, and muggy.
Well, I appreciate all you do with the Generations magazine. We'll talk to you soon.
Mahalo.
Okay, aloha.
We will be right back with Percy Ihara from Generations Radio. If you have any questions or want to be part of our discussion, give us a call at 296-5467. That's 296-5467. This is Generations Radio on AM 690 The Answer.
Moon Physical Therapy is here to help you back to recovery. Moon Physical Therapy is located on Ward Avenue across from Sports Authority. Physician prescribed for motor vehicle accidents, workman's comp, or that body pain that comes from rushing to play without warming up. Also event cardiopulmonary rehabilitation with our one-on-one patient care. Moon's Aquatherapy heated endless pool allows for low-impact exercise with less pain on land. We will give you the right exercises to get you back to health. Ask your doctor to prescribe Moon Physical Therapy. Moon Physical Therapy. We achieve results.
Aloha, this is Martha Clopin.
And Al Harrington. Choosing the right Medicare plan not only saves you money, it also helps you avoid headaches and heartaches down the road.
We want to remind everyone
to listen to a Medicare Moment with Martha, Sundays from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we help answer important questions on Medicare so you can stay healthy, wealthy, and wise all year long.
Call me at 543-2073. 543-2073.
I was an addict from the age of 13. I finally decided it was time for a change. I walked into the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center, and that got me ready for the real world. Now, I choose to be guided by Jesus Christ, and today, I'm building a powerful and promising future, free from drugs and alcohol.
Please shop at the Salvation Army family stores. With our discounted sales, your support through your purchase helps men live a clean, sober, and productive life.
Got Vegas on your mind? Get Vacations Hawaii on the line. Vacations Hawaii offers weekly 4 and 5 night Honolulu to Vegas packages, which include 3 meals daily from $6.99. Stay at Hawaii's favorite casinos: California, Fremont, Main Street Station, and Orleans Hotel. Vacations Hawaii will get you there in comfort on deluxe wide-body 767 planes with complimentary in-flight hot meal service. Vacations Hawaii's frequent flyer program gives you future travel discounts and credits. So if you're ready to win big, call Vacations Hawaii at 591-4777 or visit PointVacationsHawaii.com.
Over 10 years ago, the Plaza opened their first assisted living facility to serve the growing need of Hawaii's senior community. Since then, they've made it possible for thousands of families to stay connected with their loved ones in a true home-away-from-home setting. Now, a decade later, there are more reasons than ever why Hawaii seniors and their loved ones choose the Plaza Assisted Living. Maybe it's the flexibility of monthly rental apartment living, or the comfort of knowing that the Plaza offers independent and assisted living, memory care, even short-term respite care. Options to serve each resident's individual needs. What's reason number one? The Plaza Assisted Living feels like home. And they're going to be opening the newest plaza in Pearl City very soon. You could make your deposit today. Come, see for yourself. Call and schedule a free tour at 377-5292. That's 377-5292. Or visit us online at theplazaassistedliving.com. Theplazaassistedliving.com.
Today, more than ever, we local people are living longer than any other state in the Union, with more seniors, baby boomers, and caregivers. Generations Radio promotes the importance to be proactive as we all age. The radio team will focus on issues facing our seniors and their families, finding resources to navigate healthy aging along with financial, legal, and caregiving information. So join Percy Ihara from 5 until 6 each Saturday, right here on AM 690, The Answer. Focusing on the issues facing our seniors and their families today. Here's our Generations Radio host, Percy Ihara.
Welcome back to Generations Radio. I am Percy Ihara here every Saturday from 5 to 6, Sunday from 3 to 4 here on AM 690, The Answer. And please make sure that you like our Facebook page. I didn't know we had to like somebody's page, but please like our Generations Magazine Facebook page. We're also on Twitter and LinkedIn. So as you heard from our first segment of the show, our art director, Wilson Angel, was nice enough to call in from Maui, talking about his firsthand experience with caregiving and aging as well, but really why we do what we do. And as well, our associate editor is on the line all the way from Kapalua area, Maui, who they both live on the Maui. So I wanted to introduce Katherine Smith, our associate editor. So Katherine, thank you so much for calling in from Maui.
Oh, thanks, Percy. Thanks for asking me. I'm a little nervous coming on the radio, because I'm a writer, but I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Well, what I wanted to do, a lot of people didn't know who we are. They know me as a kind of the face of the magazine, but really I'm just the face. I mean, how everything works, it comes down to Wilson, our art director, and yourself, our associate editor, that really puts the magazine together. I just give a little bit of direction, but I also want to let people know that our staff, everybody with our staff has firsthand experience with caregiving. I'm actually the only one that doesn't have firsthand experience, but just as aging and what we do. And so can you give our audience, our listeners there, a little bit of background on yourself and how you end up coming to Hawaii?
Well, sure. I'm in Hawaii for about 24 years now, and I came here like many people come from the mainland. They come on vacation and decide to stay. So I love Hawaii, and I made a commitment to come here and stay.
And you came all the way from the East Coast, right?
All the way from the East Coast, from New Jersey. And I'm a Jersey girl at heart, but I'll tell you, I've come to love the Pacific, and I've come to love the cultures that we have. Hawaii is such a rich place.
But why Kapalua? Why Maui?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. I think we came by Kapalua because we saw a golf tournament on TV, and it was being played at Kapalua, and so that's how we picked to come here. And when we got here, we loved it, and we never went anywhere else. And it's kind of the north end of Maui. It's cool,
right? And
we like that. But it's and West Maui is our place. We've come to love it. It's our home.
Well, I don't blame you, because I played it at golf course Kapalua many years ago. I believe it was in the early '80s. A good friend of mine, my classmate, was living there, and he took me to Kapalua. And I'll tell you, that first hole at the time was going up the hill. When I looked back at the bay of Kapalua, I said, my friend Dale, I said, listen, we just need to get a beer and sit down and drink a beer. It was so beautiful looking at, no, seriously, Kim, looking at the
It's very distracting.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. You live
hard to be on your A game when you got those views in your face.
That's a good excuse, but Maui no ka'oi, as they say, right?
Maui no ka'oi.
But you came at such a young age as well.
Well, I was 45 years old, and I was retired at 45. I've been retired. I was retired a long time, but I wasn't that young. And after I retired from Johnson & Johnson, I worked for them for 18 years. I was an employee. I had a career as an employee. I'm a medical technologist by trade. Mm-hmm. I was trained at George Washington University Hospital in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And I worked in the hospital for a few years, but then I went into industry, and I did sales and marketing and adult training and a variety of things there. But my husband's older, and so when he wanted to retire, I retired with him. And that brings up a good point there, because for many years I was not eligible for Medicare And I had to, my health insurance, I had to carry that insurance myself. And I was lucky because I was a healthy person. But I think that's something that people worry about in their elder years is are those health care costs going to take you under? It's part of the retirement planning. And you have to be prepared. You just have to be prepared. That's one of the things that we have in the magazine that I enjoy so much is all of the financial planning and planning for long-term care and all of those things that we can, that our authors that we bring into the magazine offer to all of our readers.
Wow.
Yeah, Percy, one of the things I think I like to talk about is that as the editor of the magazine, my focus is always on the reader. I'm very concerned about the people who are reading our magazine, and I'm kind of the gatekeeper here. We all are, but
you are the gatekeeper.
But it falls to me that we have to have all of our things be absolutely as truthful as possible because it's our responsibility to the seniors and the baby boomers who read our magazine. That they're getting really good information, as accurate as we can make it, and that the authors are not grinding an axe or selling their wares. They too are concerned and offering really good information.
Absolutely, and it's really important. When we started a magazine with Wilson, our art director, is that we really provide a resource and we try to vet as much as possible every article and every advertiser. By the way, in the magazine, we want to make sure they're good community partners. They give back, they take care of our seniors and their families, and as truthful as possible. That we provide all this information on every issue. So. Hopefully we will continue to do that. And I appreciate what you do. But you came to Maui 20-something years ago, and so you must be happy that you reached Medicare age, did you? You had medical insurance.
I was delirious. I was so happy because then it gave me a sense of comfort then that I wasn't going to be destitute. You know, if something happened to me, I wasn't going to be wiped out because I had that backup of the Medicare. And I have a Medicare, I'm an original Medicare person, and I have a little backup insurance policy that I buy. It's not doesn't cost me too much, but it pays for everything that Medicare doesn't cover. And I also participate in a lot of preventative stuff. I think it's important at my age. Well, I can say that, can I? I'm 69 this year. I'm a senior, and I am the first year of the baby boomers, 1946, and so I try to do all the preventative things: exercise, healthy eating,
dancing,
and getting all my preventative tests done. Going to the doctor's office so nothing, gets started that might be bad for me. I get an early diagnosis, or and keep up with everything. It's like maintaining your car.
Absolutely. You have to continue to do that because you will eventually, if you don't tune up your car, eventually your car will break down. Like my friend's car, he never changed oil in like 8 years. 8 years. You know what? And he never thought about he had to change oil. One day, it goes click, 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 boom. And what do you call that? The engine, the frozen block.
The engine block.
And it's a guy, it's like, I thought all guys knew how to change the oil, or at least know where to go to change the oil. And seriously, and I could not believe it. So yes, everybody needs to exercise, but one thing
that brings up a point there. That brings up a point that you cannot go and do preventative health maintenance on yourself unless you know.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, you have to know about those things, or else you don't go and participate.
Yeah. Well, last week we had the National Kidney Foundation on our show, and we had dietitian Tabitha Tamaripa, and she was talking about that. So maybe we're going to try and get her to write an article about how to read those labels on the food items, and also how to eat healthier and a more of a nutritious meal going forward. But anyway,
sure.
A lot of people, Katherine,
we have a good article coming up in this next issue too, Percy, about brain food.
Oh, was it from Dr. Stephen Blake or from Dr. Corey Leo?
Dr. Blake and Dr. Corey Leo also wrote it together. And what was really fascinating is that the things that you do to help your brain and keep your brain healthy are also the very same things you do for a healthy heart. And for ladies like me, where you have to worry about your bones getting thin, it's also the same stuff you do to keep your skeleton and your bones healthy.
Yeah.
So there's one answer for your brain, for your heart, and for your bones. How about that?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. But anyway, a lot of people don't know, Katherine, as our associate editor, you've done extensive writing, but you even actually wrote a book about the Kapalua area.
Oh yeah, back in 2005, that I came out with a book. It's a self-published book. I did 6 years of research to try to find out the history of the land where I live, and I wanted to find out the Hawaiian history, and the Hawaiian history hadn't been translated, so all the research that I did was back in the old records at the Hawaii State Archives and the Bureau of Conveyance, and they were all in Hawaiian. So I went to school to learn Hawaiian so I could do my research.
And so now you're fluent in Hawaiian.
Oh, well, I can get along.
Oh, come on. I still remember the time we were up in Pahoa doing our Alan Parker story, and it happened to be when the lava flow came down, and we went up to the command center up there, and we walked into the facility, and it had a couple of Hawaiian guys sitting on the side talking Hawaiian to you, and you kind of conversed with them for a while until they couldn't say anything more because that's all the Hawaiian they knew. Remember that?
No, I don't. But I try to speak Hawaiian whenever I can because there's so few speakers.
Yeah.
You need the practice.
But can you write Hawaiian as well?
Oh, I write very well in Hawaiian.
Oh.
I write better than I actually speak because I learned it at an older age, and it's hard to get conversant when you're older. But I love to, and I read a lot of Hawaiian too.
Really? Why? That's one thing I know our audience never knew about you, and I tell people all the time because here's this Caucasian lady from New Jersey.
Yeah, the face kind of shocks them.
I know. You must shock a lot of them when you go see the kumuhulas and all the Hawaiian families on the Maui.
Yeah, they're surprised, but it's fun. I love Hawaii. I love the Hawaiian culture. I love the Hawaiian people. Yeah, and my story ended up being my book ended up about being the last chiefess to rule the land where I lived
in Kapalua.
At Kapalua. And I discussed her family, and I really made it into a novel because there was so little written about her. She was not a famous chief. She was a backwoods chief. So I made it into a historical fiction. But I placed her and her family in the era when they lived and all the things that happened at the time. And, of course, it was all the times after Kamehameha died, and then everything was changing. And Hawaii, the Stone Age Hawaii, was coming into the Industrial Age overnight, practically overnight.
And it's factual as well, right?
Yes, it's an accurate history of West Maui from 1820 to 1870.
Well, and I think in our December issue, our October issue is coming out pretty soon, that maybe we should do a book review on your book and let people know what the name of the book is.
Well, yes, it's called The Love Remains, and it's I don't know if they can actually buy it now. I don't know if I'm not really
Amazon
actively marketing.
I see. Well,
they could find old copies on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, then there you go.
I'm going to publish the ebook.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, cool. Anyway, so your experiences with caregiving, can you give us our audience a little bit of background on your experiences?
Well, I had a brother, and it was just me and my brother and my parents, and I was kind of an afterthought child, so my parents were older, and my brother was 12 years older than I. I lost him first. Then first my dad died when I was 18, and then my brother and I lost him. I don't know, 20 years ago, and then my mom was my responsibility. But my mom was a very independent person, and she did not want to be a burden on her family, and she took care of herself until she was 94.
Wow.
And she didn't even tell me what her finances were. So I knew my mother. I knew she wanted to be in control. That was very important to her. And so when she finally asked me to take care of her finances for her, she was still living in an apartment, but she fell, and she broke her femur, so she couldn't walk. And she had to, when she was in rehab, we discussed what she was going to do, and going back to her apartment was not an option. So I looked around for an assisted living area, and we found a nice facility that at the time Marriott Hotels was in the assisted living trade, and they had a great facility there. So while she was in rehab, I got some of her furniture, moved into the little place, and we bought 1 month of assisted living, and I decorated the whole place for her so she would feel comfortable, and she came there from the rehab facility. And when she wheeled into the room, she said, "Oh, this is better than the other place." I said, "Mom, you mean the rehab center?" She said, "No, home." So she immediately took to it, and she's a very social person, and so she socialized well in the community, and she was there for 4 years until
4 years
until she broke her hip, and then she was in skilled nursing for only 6 months. But when you break a hip, it's not the bone that's the problem. The problem is that the hip bone is full of marrow, and the marrow causes a whole bunch of clots to form, and that ends up being, my mother had a stroke, she suffered a heart attack, and a pulmonary embolism all at the same time. So she was totally incapacitated, couldn't talk, and she couldn't undergo the surgery to repair her hip. So the bed rest and the fall really took her, and it was she was very courageous and totally with it mentally.
Well, that's great, but she's lucky to have you still there as well.
It was wonderful to be able to be there for my mom when she wanted me to be there. Mm-hmm. Because she didn't want me to be there for, she wanted to be in control. But when the time came, she was ready, and when the time came, we had some sad conversations because I told her, what they wanted to do as far as rehab and what the doctors suggested and everything. And she was very, very tired at the end of her life. And she said, honey, I think we just have to let things be.
Sure. She was, 99 years old, 100 years old?
She was 98.
98 years old. Yeah, I'd be tired too.
And so she went to sleep one day after lunch, and that was that.
Oh, that's the way to go, though. That's the way to go.
She led a very full life, and she honored her parents, and she had a very nice passing, a peaceful passing, and
well, that's really important.
After, and the other thing this is, I don't know why this came to my mind, but and when my mom passed, we had seen other people pass at her assisted living facility, and by law, the facility was not allowed to tell the other residents what had happened to the people. And it was like people would just disappear one day, and then no one would be told what happened to them. And so I didn't want that to happen for my mom. She hated that.
I've never heard anything like that.
Well, I don't know if it's maybe
I'll
it's
find
a law
out
in
here
other
in Hawaii,
states
but
too.
yeah.
So after the funeral, my niece and I took the flowers from the funeral, and we ordered a big cake and ice cream. We went back to Brighton Gardens, to the facility, and we had a ceremony in the main room for my mom. And then we had cake and ice cream.
Oh, cool.
And the residents were so appreciative, because they missed that. They never got a chance to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got a chance to say goodbye. And I think it's important to keep allow your elders to have what they're used to having.
Sure.
And allow them to celebrate in the ways they want to celebrate.
Yep, everybody does it differently. I've talked to many hospice agencies and different hospice care workers and doctors, and it's really important. And they also grieve differently as well, but it's just really important we celebrate people's lives.
Absolutely.
And she's very fortunate to have you there, and your caring nature, and it's really important because you hear so many sad stories or depressing stories of end of life, and it's really a time to really celebrate life. And she lived a long 98 years. Wow, I hope I reach 88, let alone 98. So you have longevity in your side.
I do, and that's why I have to do good planning.
Yeah.
I could be around for another 30 years.
Well, yeah, you probably will. If you think about it, that's true.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, well, we're going to need an editor. So we're here with Katherine Smith, our associate editor, who actually lives in Kapalua, Maui. But Katherine, I appreciate what you do, and you're right. What Wilson talked about earlier, as a resource magazine, we really need to make sure that we provide information that's very resourceful, proactive, but also accurate, and not try to get our writers to write about themselves. And sometimes they complain, don't they? Sometimes our writers complain, why can't I talk about my business or how good I am? Yeah. So that's not the point of writing an article. The point about a resource magazine is to provide good information. And I tell them, if you provide good information, they're going to call you. But it's not about writing an article so I get business.
Well, it goes back to something that I used to be in sales too, and that is that people buy from people. And so the more people get to know you, the more likely they're going to come to you to buy when they need it. So if they know what you do and they trust you, they get to know you well, then they will come to you and buy when the time comes.
Yeah, but it's just so important that we provide really good information out there because, like our kidney story, last week, about dieting and, 70% of people don't know they have diabetes until they finally get the checkup. And there is a GFR checkup they can take, but for some reason they overlook that or they don't think it's serious enough. And at some point where they have kidney failure. And it's amazing how many people are on dialysis today. They projected double the number of people that have on dialysis 10 years when they first started in 1988. It's actually triple the numbers of people. Today is over 33 to 4,000 people on dialysis, where in 1998 there were only less than 1,000 people on dialysis here in Hawaii.
It's no way to live. It's a terrible way to have to live because you're in that facility being dialyzed, or even in your home being dialyzed, hours and hours of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
3 days a week in the dialysis center.
Right.
It's awful.
Yeah. Well, as associate editor, what do you look for this coming year? We had a big meeting a month ago, and what do you look toward as we move toward the end of the year into 2016?
Well, it's going to be very exciting. It's always exciting because there's always new things coming up. Right now, we have an issue coming out. It's about Miss Medicare and 3 of the pageant winners who are just living fountains of youth. That's all I can say about them. They're wonderful. They're just these gorgeous women who have somehow found the youth within them and preserved that through the years. It's not a physical thing. It's mental and spiritual.
One in the 80s.
And just being around them makes you feel young.
Yeah, we have one in the 80s, one in the 70s, and one in the 60s. We're going to portray in our October-November issue. But, Katherine, thank you so much. I appreciate you calling all the way from Kapalua. You stay dry out there. Any last parting words? Because we got to go check out here pretty soon.
Well, I love what I'm doing, Percy. This is a wonderful thing to be able to write and edit and in my passion, which is to help all the seniors. I just appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Katherine, our associate editor here. So, guys, we're here every Saturday from 5 to 6, Sunday from 3 to 4. And make sure if any past issues or topics you want to go to our website, generations808.com. But anyway, we're here every weekend. Go on our website, generations808.com. And I am Percy Ihara here every Saturday, Sunday with you. I always want to end saying just live well, guys. Aloha and take care.